Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high.
Men, do you have close men friends that you open your heart to about your fears, your failures, your deepest concerns? Men, do you have close men friends who know the worst about you and are still your friends? Sadly, for many men, their friendships with other men are just about doing stuff together, drinking booze, playing poker, playing ball, hunting, fishing. Many women's friendships with other women go much deeper, sharing the precious and the painful inside. Little girls can walk to school hand in hand, hug, cry, and say, "You're my best friend. I need you. I love you." But sadly, many little boys are ashamed and afraid to show their feelings for each other. Fag, hoto, are words little boys learn to fear like hell. Many teenage boys fear people will think they're gay if they show affection to other boys. Many men let their guard down in public if they are boozing together, or if they're in a bus depot or an airport saying hi or goodbye. Many men let their guard down in public if they score a touchdown or make a basket with a pat on the ass of their friend playing or hug. Men, do you tell your men friends your sadness, your loneliness? Do you express tenderness? Men can be, and in some societies, some cultures, are as sensitive, warm, open as women. Men do not have to spend their whole lives bluffing each other. Sadly, many men shoot the breeze with each other and no more. Talking business, sports, women, politics. Many men are damn allergic to going deep and personal. I get bored to hell if some men just stay on the surface, shallow talk. I want to go deep and personal. I welcome any personal questions. Many older men become emotional vegetables when their wives die because they depended on their wives to connect deeply with family and friends and neighbors. Some men are waking up, especially some younger men. Some men are changing, finding freedom to show all of their feelings to both men and women. One of the reasons many men love playing sports, they can touch other men's bodies in public and not be put down for it. Sadly, many men cannot admit this even to themselves. I enjoy living in my sunny, bright 9.5 foot by 12 foot home, 114 square feet, 6 windows, 3 on the south, 3 on the east. Sunshine warms my room on many winter days. I have no right to a much larger home, while many millions worldwide have no home. The bigger the house, the more materials were used to build it, the more stuff bought to stuff it and fill it. The bigger the house, usually the more energy consumed to heat it or to cool it, causing more poisoned air, more global climate chaos. The bigger the house, the more repairs to do, the more time spent cleaning it. The bigger the house, the more destruction in our environment, and the more unfair to our sisters and brothers who have no decent shelter. If I were given the most luxurious mansion in this city, I would not keep it. I would be ashamed, damn ashamed, ashamed as hell to live in it, when millions in this world, in India, China, Africa, and thousands here in Albuquerque have no home. And also, I have more interesting things to do, more important things to do than be a janitor for a big house. I've lived in this one-room home in the house of a friend for over 12 years, the favorite place I've lived in my 76 and a half years, other than the farm home where I grew up in Illinois. And instead of paying my friend rent, my friend who owns the house, he has had me send money directly, not through him, but mail it directly to the organization Right Sharing of World Resources. Right Sharing of World Resources. It's a Quaker organization, he's a Quaker, that gives many thousands of dollars to women's cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, sewing cooperatives in India and in Africa. This year, my friend has me send them $290 a month instead of paying him rent. And I have a big garden in the backyard, native blue corn, mint, and lots of alfalfa and colitas. Parents, do you want your kids to be honest? Is that important to you? Do you ever tell them to lie for you, saying you're not home when you are home, if someone phones or comes to the door and you don't want to speak to the person? Parents, do you lie to your kids about your own past mistakes? People learn to lie if their families lie. Kids learn to lie when telling the truth makes their parents more upset, more angry, than telling the truth about what they did wrong. Parents, do your kids hear you lying to your friends about your lives? Do your kids hear you being two-faced, saying one thing to someone face-to-face and something very different behind that person's back to someone else? My mother loved me deeply. She took me as a kid many times to the dentist. I had many cavities, many fillings. She wanted me to keep my teeth all my life. Her teeth were pulled. She got false teeth in her 30s or 40s. But far more important than going to the dentist would have been eating only healthy, raw plant foods. But sadly, she and I both were severely addicted for many years to crap containing sugar, ice cream, cake, cookies, candy. I have one tooth left. Many years ago in the 1990s, I suffered very painful infections in my decayed teeth. Learn from my sad mistake. Eat only healthy plant foods. No sugar shit. No McDonald's. None of the factory crap. Eat only healthy, preferably raw plant foods. When I was 12 years old, I was very attracted to teenager David, who worked shirt-free on our farm in Illinois. And this was many years before I knew many men make love with men, many years before I knew many men are in love with men. This was 18 years before I had sex with any male in my life. If teenager David had been sexually attracted to me, and if our families and society had accepted our relationship, I could have greatly enjoyed, greatly benefited from sex and romance with David back then. I know of some men who say when they were underage, they were attracted to adult men. As underage youth, they made the moves on men and enjoyed sex with them. But because of the huge risks now for the adult and the under 18-year-old, I refuse to have sex with any male under 18, no matter how much we both want to, no matter how strongly attracted to each other. The risks are too great. For years, I have written to men locked up because courts convicted them of having sex with underage persons. Over 20 years ago, I met friendly, attractive gay man named Avi in his 20s here in Albuquerque. He was an outstanding middle school teacher, deeply loved by many students, many parents. One teenage boy said Avi had sexual contact with him. Now, I do not know if that was the truth or if it was a lie. I don't know. But before police charged Avi, before they arrested Avi, before they even interviewed Avi, Avi went to the top of Sandia Peak and shot himself to death. And even if what the teenager said was not true, and if Avi had proved his innocence, Avi probably feared he never again would be allowed to teach youth in a classroom. I refuse to risk arrest. I refuse to risk prosecution. I refuse to risk fines, prison. I refuse to risk loss of friends. I refuse to risk my suicide. I refuse to risk a knock on my door from police 10, 20, 30 years after sex with the under 18-year-old. To live with the fear of that happening would be hell. I refuse to risk being put on a sex offenders list for years or for life. I refuse to risk causing the under 18-year-old to lie to his parents if he and I had sex and they would not approve. I refuse to risk driving him further from his parents by keeping this secret. And even if his parents knew me, even if they liked me, even if his parents accepted my romantic relationship with their under 18-year-old son, I refuse to risk causing them to lose custody of their son if a school teacher, a counselor, a relative, a neighbor found out about our romantic relationship and his parents' approval of it. And if all of that was reported to the authorities. I refuse to risk having the under 18-year-old pressured to see our lovemaking as an evil crime of sexual abuse. I refuse to risk having him later hate me, reject me, often hate himself for what we both wanted, we both enjoyed at the moment. I refuse to risk having him forced to see a therapist until he puts all blame on me as the adult abuser if he says he wanted and enjoyed the relationship. I refuse to risk having him lie in order to please his parents and the authorities, saying I forced him. I refuse to risk having him hate himself for lying and for betraying me. No matter that some societies, past or present, approved and even celebrated romantic relationships between adult men and under 18-year-olds, no matter how strongly I disagree with the laws here, I refuse to have sex with an under 18-year-old. In 1980, 16-year-old Don and I were attracted to each other. He and I wanted to have sex, but I turned him down because he was under 18. Don was hurt. Don was angry. He wrote me a hostile letter, the only hostile letter he ever wrote me, and I have it at home. He and I had sex when he was 19. I loved Don deeply. I was in love with him. He died in a car crash when he was 25, and never before Don's death had I suffered the death of a man I was so in love with. The same huge risks in this society for adult men having sex with girls under 18, the same huge risks for adult women having sex with boys or girls under 18. Much better to be safe than sorry. People have wondered if I'm a hippie. Well, if you mean someone who is not dependable, someone who's lazy, strung out on drugs, hell no, I'm not a hippie. But if you mean someone who damns all war, if you mean someone who enjoys living simply, If you mean someone who enjoys being naked, someone who likes bright colors and long hair on men, if you mean someone who openly enjoys sex and romance with more than one person, yes. Oh, 1,000 times yes, I am a hippie. The worst population problem on earth is not in the let me start over on that. The worst population problem on earth is not in India. It's not in China. It's not in Africa. The worst population problem on earth is here in the United States. Why? Because most people here, not all, but most, consume and pollute far more per person than most people in India, China, or Africa. So why make more babies? If you already have kids, love them, care for them, and teach them by your example to enjoy living simply, living fairly, in our world family of almost 8 billions, not millions, 8 billions of sisters and brothers. Hating myself when I wrong someone does not make me a better person. We become better to other people when we confess our wrong and then forgive ourselves. If we want to deeply love and forgive others, we need to start with loving and forgiving ourselves. We all are more than the worst thing we ever did in life. We need to become our own best friend, our own loving parent to ourselves, even when we make some terrible mistakes and do some awful wrongs. I eat much fresh, raw, whole fruit, apples, bananas, melons, mangoes, peaches, and more. They are my healthy sweets. And always eat fruit that is fully ripe, not half green, unless you have nothing else to eat in this world. Only fully ripe, fresh fruit. I eat no junk food sweets. If you eat a lot of fresh fruit, as I do, be sure also to do these things. 1, eat lots of fresh, raw, leafy greens. Alfalfa, colitas, in English that's lamb's quarter or wild spinach, kale or collards or broccoli or leaf lettuce, lots of fresh, raw, leafy greens every day. My favorite green is alfalfa, and I grow a lot of it in my garden. Secondly, if you eat a lot of fresh whole fruit, as I do, soak up sunshine on most or all of your skin most days, year-round. Third, exercise vigorously every day. 4, eat 4 or more cloves of raw garlic every day. I eat them in my smoothies. 5, eat 3 or 4 tablespoons of freshly ground or freshly blended flaxseed every day. Start with 1 teaspoon flaxseed 3 times a day gradually increase. And finally, eat 1 heaping teaspoon of fenugreek seed, that's Fenugreek seed, 3 or 4 times a day in smoothies. Those are very important if you eat a lot of fresh, whole fruit, as I do. Fresh, whole fruit are healthy sweets, but they need to be balanced also by these other things. A man from the United States visited Iraq in 1999 in the neighborhood, the southern city of Basra. And on January 25th of 1999, that neighborhood was hit by 1 or more U.S. missiles. 36 houses were destroyed, 7 people killed, many wounded. 7-year-old Hashim Ali, a cute little boy, small for his age, the large scar on the calf of his leg, of his innocent body. The sad expression on his face did not fit well with his youthful features. And this man from the United States says, his look pierced me as he lifted his garment to show his wound. He handed me the chunk of contorted metal that had torn his flesh. This U.S. export was stained with this little boy's blood. His age and his innocence did not protect him from the evil of the U.S. missile. And then people here wonder, why do millions hate and fear this government? The little boy's father and the crowd of hundreds gathered as this man from the United States visited there. And this man from the United States said, I'm sorry. But his father replied, you say you are sorry, but still your government kills civilians. And of course, this happens over and over again all over the world in many nations by the United States under both Republican and Democrat presidents. A photo exhibit was put on display in that town. A 6-year-old girl, her hair tied back by a still visible bow, the girl dead, her body partially covered with debris. Her name was Nan. She and her little sisters, one 3.5 years old, another 2 years old, killed in the attack that wounded the 7-year-old boy. A fourth photo shows their mother dressed in black, sobbing, while another black-clad woman in mourning tries to comfort her. And these photos of dead children, their ashen faces coated with concrete dust, their limbs buried beneath the remnants of their home, which was built to protect them from the dangers of the world. These photos, along with the testimony of the people and the shrapnel, the U.S. shrapnel that lacerated Hashim's leg, were damning pieces of evidence in one of a string of child massacres carried out by the United States. According to UNICEF, at least 5,000 children under the age of 5 died every month in Iraq as a result of U.S. sanctions put by the United States. The sanctions and the bombings of Iraq were done in the name of the United States. The missiles that destroyed Nan, her sisters, their neighborhood, were delivered by U.S. soldiers. And are you proud to send your loved ones to become U.S. mass murderers? The missiles were built by U.S. workers, paid for by U.S. federal income taxpayers. So why are we shocked when children here settle scores with guns and bombs, when their nation, the president, does the same on a worldwide scale? Sisters and brothers, let us stop the killings by this government. When loved ones are dying, make sure they know if you are willing to listen to their deepest fears and feelings. Make sure these loved ones who are dying know if you are willing to listen to their regrets, their best memories, their worst memories, their wisdom, their hidden secrets they never told anyone, the painful lessons they learned in life. And never bullshit your dying loved ones with, "Oh, you'll soon be up and around and back to normal." Never bullshit them with, "You're looking better every day." If you can't face the truth about your loved ones dying, why bullshit them when they need and want friends and relatives who do not lie to them about their condition? Often dying people want to talk about death. They want to talk about their deepest fears and feelings and all of this that I just mentioned. But they know that some loved ones cannot handle talking deeply. If your loved ones are opening their hearts to you, for God's sake, well, as an agnostic or an atheist, I'll say something else. For their sake, listen to one of the most important conversations you may ever have in your life. Do not change the subject. Do not look at your watch. Do not leave the room. Listening with your heart to your dying loved ones is 1,000,000 times better than spending $100 or $1,000 on a bouquet of roses for their casket when they lie cold and still. 1,000,000 times better than wasting many thousands of dollars on a fancy funeral or a gravestone. The last time I visited my friend Harry Wilson, an author, a former preacher, over 12 years ago, days before he died, Harry told me, squeeze out every drop. In other words, make the best, make the most of every day of life. Do not waste the precious moments. Life is short. Our lives are too precious to waste. Whenever our loved ones die, we never get over the loss, but we can learn to live with the loss. We will never be the same. Every day the loved one is still gone, and we're here for now. It's much like having an arm or leg amputated. Never the same, but we can learn to live and make the best of our lives with the loved ones we still have living. The best memorial to our dead loved one is to be a better friend to the living because of the love and the lessons from our loved ones gone. Most people in the United States spend most of the time cut off from our great doctor, the sun, the source of all life on earth. Most people spend most of their lives inside classrooms, houses, offices, factories, stores, cars, prison cells. When they are outside, most people cover most of their skin with cloth. So it's no wonder that the vast majority, up to 95%, do not have enough vitamin D. People who test positive for COVID often are low in vitamin D. Vitamin D activates the natural killer T cells in our bodies to fight infections of all kinds, colds, flu, COVID, AIDS, whatever. In winter, we need much more time in the sun to get enough vitamin D. And the darker your skin, the more time you need in the sun to get enough vitamin D. Sunshine lowers cholesterol. Sunshine lowers blood pressure. Sunshine lowers blood sugar. Sunshine increases endurance. Sunshine lifts our mood. Sunshine raises sex hormones. If you're not used to it, start with just a few minutes. Slowly increase. And never burn. Eat only healthy, raw plant foods to benefit from the sunshine. I greatly enjoy sunbathing naked on many winter days in 2 small private spots in the backyard. If there's no clouds, no wind, sunbathing in the winter many days for an hour or 2 or 3. But most sunny summer days are too hot to enjoy lying in the sunshine. But if it's a cloudy day in summer, that's different. And I walk and I work in the garden mostly naked on summer days. I would not trade my sunbathing for a free trip. I would not trade my sunbathing for a free trip to anywhere on earth. Jimmy Carter said, "My father, my mother, both sisters, and my brother all died of cancer. And they all smoked cigarettes. Al Gore spoke of watching his sister Nancy die of lung cancer. Neighbors of the Gores said that the family stopped growing tobacco on its farm after Nancy died of lung cancer. Smoking causes wrinkles. Smoking damages the immune system, so you're more likely to catch all kinds of infectious disease. How criminally hypocritical for cigarette companies to use sex appeal to advertise their poison. Cigarettes slowly destroy heart-ons in men. The longer the man smokes cigarettes as the years pass, the more likely his heart-ons will be destroyed by the damn cigarettes. Tobacco is the most heavily sprayed U.S. crop for human consumption. The most heavily sprayed. So a smoker plays Russian roulette not only with tobacco's tar and nicotine, but also with the highly poisonous bug killers and a host of other chemical additives in the cigarette. The smoke of one cigarette contains 4,700 different chemical compounds. 43 of those 4,700 different chemical compounds are proven to cause cancer. One is carbon monoxide, the compound in car exhaust that kills by reducing the amount of oxygen in the blood. Tar in the cigarettes, a sticky brown residue that stains fingers and teeth, contains benzopyrene, one of the deadliest causes of cancer known. Other chemicals, deadly chemicals in cigarettes: acetone, ammonia, arsenic, ethanol, formaldehyde, methane, vinyl chloride. Tobacco firms are not required by law to tell everything that's in the cigarettes, and there's no such thing as a safe cigarette. All tobacco, whether processed commercially or grown in your backyard, contains nicotine and tar. If not sprayed, native tobacco doesn't have the insecticides, the fertilizers, and other additives found in commercial tobacco, but it still is addicting, and it can kill you if smoked regularly. Nutritionist Roger Williams in the 1950s proved that not enough nutrients causes alcoholism. In experiments with rats, he found that only 10% of those with full nutrition became alcoholic. When nutrients were cut by 1/3, about 33% became alcoholic. And when nutrients were tripled for supernutrition, only 1% became alcoholic. In one study on people who boozed and smoked, an amazing 80% stopped boozing and smoking without even trying when they received super nutrition. Dr. John Douglas found that booze and cigarette addiction went away when those patients ate only raw foods. No willpower needed. Raw foods tell our bodies what's good, what's bad for our health. Dr. Joseph Beasley started a clinic for alcoholics in New York with the highest success rate in the nation. And years earlier, Dr. Beasley himself was severely alcoholic. The foundation of his own recovery, his own becoming sober and staying sober, and his clinic's treatment program was good nutrition. Read his book, How to Defeat Alcoholism. The author, Dr. Joseph Beasley, Beasley. Feeling stressed? Take deep breaths. Go for a long walk in nature. Enjoy a short siesta. And we all have a reservoir of stubbornness inside, a powerful energy that we can use to bless us or to curse us. Many times in my life, I've used my stubborn energy foolishly or selfishly, and that's not something to be proud of. But I am proud to use my stubborn energy for my health and for standing up for the truth as best I see it. If you smoke, use your stubborn energy to stop smoking. Fall in love with becoming healthy. Fall in love with feeling good. When stopping smoking or any bad habit, substitute a greater pleasure, something you enjoy more, something that helps you instead of harms you. Good sex for both men and women requires good blood circulation to our genitals. Cigarettes damage the heart and the blood vessels. Cigarettes and booze lower the sex hormone testosterone, causing men to be less horny, less able to get firm hard-ons, less likely to orgasm readily. If a healthy man and I are strongly attracted to each other and we make love, I want to swallow his manly essence, his cum. But sadly, a smoker's cum is contaminated with many poisons. No matter how sexy he looks, no matter how kind and dependable he is, if he's a smoker, his cum is contaminated with poisons from the cigarettes. And the same with a woman. Her body fluids, if she's a smoker. And again, the smoke of one cigarette contains 4,700 different chemical compounds. 43 of them are proven to cause cancer. A woman in California wrote, "My father worked 6 days a week. My mother was always cleaning, cooking, doing laundry. They both came from families with parents who never showed any affection, never told them they were loved. So, of course, this explains why they did not know how to give affection or express it in words." And this woman says, "My life changed at age 9 when I stayed overnight at a girlfriend's house. Her mother kissed us both good night and tucked us in. And that did it. I was so moved by that loving gesture, I could not sleep. I thought, this is the way it's supposed to be. When I left, I was angry at my own parents for a while, but I could not hold it against Mom and Dad for the way they were. And this is what I did to reverse the process. I began kissing my mother so often that I got her to laugh about it. This woman says, I married at 17, had 2 children before I was 20. I kissed them until their little cheeks were red. And when I talked to my mother on the telephone, I would say, I love you, Mom. And after a while, she finally said, I love you too. I'd never heard her say that before. And after a few weeks, when I'd go to see Mom, she would say, where's my kiss? And when it was time for me to leave, she'd say, I love you. You know that, don't you? I'm so glad I was able to change things because my precious mother passed away not long ago. I cherish the many letters from her saying, I love you. This wonderful testimony from a woman in California. We can wake up. We can change. Most movies made in New Mexico or Hollywood or anywhere in this country are nothing to be proud of. Many of them glamorize murder and money addiction, rape, robbery, rage, revenge, booze, or war. Many others are shallow, like mud puddles. Most movies are nothing to celebrate, regardless how many jobs, how many dollars, a stupid waste of time, talent, and money. Superb acting, well-designed sets, spectacular scenery, but it's like using fancy china dishes to serve rotten garbage. Nothing uplifting, nothing inspiring, nothing that will help us change our lives for the better. Sadly, most actors, not all, but most actors will take the part if the pay is high enough, regardless how violent or how shallow the movie is. If we damn violence on our streets, why watch movie violence for entertainment? Imagine if Breaking Bad had instead been breaking free about meth users, meth dealers breaking free from meth. Would I plant poison plants in my food garden? So why plant poison in the garden of my mind? Why should actors be paid more money than farm workers in the hot sun, harvesting fruits and vegetables for us to eat? Do any elected officials in this state have the balls and have the conscience to say all of this publicly? I compliment movies about forgiveness. I compliment movies about enemies becoming friends. I compliment movies about working for justice and fairness. I compliment movies about honoring nature, about growing food, about changing how we live to slow the climate chaos. I compliment movies about enjoying living simply. I compliment movies about natural health, naked body freedom, passionate romance between Maria and Pedro, or Maria and Juanita, or Pedro and Felipe. I treasure certain movies that move me deeply to tears and to live my life better. Good actions to live more humbly, more simply, more compassionately toward all people. Maggie Kuhn was the founder of the Gray Panthers with chapters across the country, age and youth together in action. Maggie Kuhn died at 89 years old years ago. She was a longtime activist against discrimination and against the Vietnam War. Maggie Kuhn said, "Do something outrageous every day." Maggie said mental health for old people requires two things. One, social action. Take a stand, protest, demonstrate, work for change. And two, sex. Maggie Kuhn had many love affairs. In her 70s, she had a love affair with a man in his 20s. And on her tombstone, Maggie Kuhn wanted these words, "Here lies Maggie Kuhn under the only stone she left unturned." A woman wanted to make sure her iron was turned off before she left the house. She checked the iron surface with the palm of her hand, expecting it to be cold, but the iron was hot. She burned her hand severely. She remembered that some weeks earlier, she had stored a bottle containing piss. She covered her burns with that aged piss. The pain soon began going away. A few hours later, her hand looked and felt as though nothing had happened to it. No blisters, no scars, no redness remained. I've drunk my fresh piss for health every day since 1999. Now I drink about 2 cups every day. I aim to do this until the day I die. Never drink aged piss, and if you take prescription drugs or street drugs, start drinking only drops or teaspoons of your fresh piss because some of the drugs are in your piss. Aged piss is good for skin problems, for washing clothes, but drink only fresh piss. And this is it, and good night.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said